Alright everybody, how are we doing today? I bet you thought I went away, huh? Not yet. Nope, still here for a good while. Now before we begin, I would just like to say... The amendment was ratified by the states and authenticated by Secretary of State Thomas Jefferson as a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's right, folks. So long as the Second Amendment stands, gun control is actually illegal. But that's not stopping these criminal politicians from creating laws that are against the law. Oh yes. Our government is that dirty. They break their own rules just to get what they want. So, from reason, free minds, and free markets, Kamala Harris promises to disarm violent hate by seizing guns from bigots. The Democratic presidential contender suggests that racist threats or anti-immigrant manifestos could justify federal gun confiscation orders. Shall not be infringed. So no, actually it can't. Senator Kamala Harris, who is seeking the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, says if elected she will push legislation that would authorize federal courts to issue gun confiscation orders against people who express opinions that may indicate an intent to commit a hate crime. These domestic terrorism prevention orders would temporarily restrict a person's access to guns if they exhibit clear evidence of dangerous, including violent, racist threats or anti-immigrant manifestos. Harris's plan to disarm violent hate is pretty vague, so it's hard to say whether it would be inconsistent with the First Amendment if the bill she imagines would merely create a federal red flag law focused on a subset of people deemed to threat to others. That would be bad enough, since these laws generally give short shrift due process. But her description of the problem she is trying to address suggests that constitutionally protected speech might itself be enough to suspend someone's Second Amendment rights. From El Paso to the Tree of Life Synagogue, and from Poway to Mother Emanuel Church, her campaign website says one thing is clear: guns are the weapon of choice for domestic terrorists and perpetrators of hate crimes. Whether it's violent racist threats or anti-immigrant manifestos, signs of impending violence are often evident before tragedy strikes. While that may be true in retrospect, it does not mean that all racists, nativists, white supremacists, or anti-Semites who express their views online, or even a significant percentage of them, are bent on mass murder. No, it's not. In fact, her precedent for this is quite shaky indeed. Keep in mind, Miss Harris and those of you watching at home, of London's knife crime. You seem to forget, or at least not realize, perhaps deliberately and selectively, that when you take away the guns, surprise, surprise, the wannabe murderers just use something else. And for that matter, let's talk about the police and their petty no-knock raid policy. Picture, if you will, a situation where the police have been called. You don't have any weapons because, oh, surprise, surprise, you're not allowed to have any. The police decide to do a no-knock raid and you hear your door being busted in violently. Now here's the thing. You hear your door being busted in violently and people invading your home. Do you think, oh boy, it's the cops? Or do you think, oh shit, I'm being burgled? What makes more sense? Right, you're being burgled. That's what you think. You don't realize it's the police. So of course you get into the situation where the police come up to you. You've got a gun. Maybe you shoot them, thinking they're burglars. You should not be held accountable because they did not properly announce themselves. What were you supposed to think? Now if you don't have guns, they come in and, well, Now you're in a situation where they all have guns and you don't have shit. So your life literally depends on the police being good public servants. But what if they're corrupt and decide killing people's okay in the name of the law? Then what? You're in a position where the state has all the power and you have none. So what if that state is corrupt? Then what? Keep in mind that gun rights and the Second Amendment established a certain balance. The state would have guns, and the people would also have guns. So the status quo was equal, about 50-50. You eliminate that status quo, and suddenly all your power is in the hands of the government. And therefore your life literally depends on whether or not the government is going to keep to its word and promise to actually take care of its people. Instead, they might decide, oh, we don't need to take care of anyone. We make a mistake, we don't have to apologize or do anything about it. We can kill people and get away with it with impunity. Just a little tidbit for you there. But Harris mentions the 2018 shooting in which Robert Bowers murdered 11 people at a Pittsburgh synagogue. Prior to the attack, Bowers posted a bunch of anti-Semitic comments on Gab. In his bio, he described Jews as the children of Satan, and his posts and reposts railed against Jews and the Latin Americans whose illegal immigration he believed they were facilitating. He was clearly obsessed with Jews. Alex Amend of the Southern Poverty Law Center wrote after the attack, "In the small window into his account currently available, it's evident he engaged with numerous anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that have long been in circulation among neo-Nazis and white nationalists. But the clearest intimation of impending violence did not appear until the morning of the attack. Highest, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, likes to bring invaders in that kill our people, screw your optics, I'm going in. By the time that message was posted, it was too late for police intervention, let alone a domestic terrorism prevention order. It's not clear how the law Harris supports would distinguish between the run-of-the-mill anti-Semites and the tiny percentage of them who, like Bauer, translate their hateful beliefs into homicidal action. If anyone who circulates messages like the ones Bauer posted would be a candidate for a gun confiscation order, the law would be casting a very wide net, undermining First Amendment as well as Second Amendment rights. A twofer. A similar problem is evident in connection with another shooting that Harris mentions. In 2015, in which Dylan Roof murdered 9 people at the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina. Several months before that attack, Roof posted a manifesto that described blacks as inferior to whites, minimized the evils of slavery, defended segregation, called for drastic action to take back the country, where is the passage that, in retrospect, distinguished Roof from all the racist idiots with equally odious views who do not commit mass murder. Yeah, couple things. One, I don't get black Christianity, to be honest. Keep in mind that was the religion people used to justify enslaving and kidnapping blacks across the face of the planet. So why the hell would you want to believe in it? Stockholm Syndrome much? No, seriously, that sounds like Stockholm Syndrome to me. It really does. And as for the neo-Nazis and the people on the internet, well, let me tell you something. The alt-right is indeed real. The left didn't make them up. However, they're not anywhere near as big of a threat as people make them out to be. Albeit, their influence is far-reaching. Much like the alt-left. The keyboard warriors, the social justice warriors. The relationship is this. The alt-right and the alt-left, while small and radical, their rhetoric has far-reaching effects. It is often true that people take a loud minority and make the mistake of thinking they're a majority simply because of how loud they are. It's happened in the history of this country and many other countries time and time again. So naturally, when you see CNN hosts using the exact same rhetoric you literally just saw on, like, say, Twitter, like, 15 minutes ago, oh, that's obviously a coincidence. But then when you hear, and the right points that out, but then when you hear, say, Fox News sharing some of the exact same rhetoric as the alt-right, which are frequently racist, neo-Nazi type leaning, people, and you hear the exact same rhetoric, suddenly, oh, it's just a coincidence. No. It works both ways, alright? Alt-tech, alternative media, Facebook, Twitter, Minds, it all has an effect on the mainstream media. Because they tend to use what they believe is popular. Popular language, popular ideas, popular politics. Now, that does not say that these people aren't automatic shooters. Of course not. Only the most extreme of extreme to ever dare shoot people up with guns and commit this sort of violence. So simply identifying the rhetoric as a early warning sign of, oh, they're going to shoot somebody, they're going to shoot people. No. Literally thousands of people believe in this crap and have never either purchased a gun, own a gun, or have ever shot a single bullet their entire lives. But can we honestly expect Kamala Harris to have an actual brain in her head? Of course not. She's a little bit smarter than AOC, I think, but just barely. But keep in mind that when Donald Trump introduced his red flag laws, he opened the door wide open to this crap. He opened the door to these people. When the government takes away the guns, they have all the guns and you have nothing. You are at the mercy of the state and criminals. I mean, gun control laws, right? When was the last time you saw a criminal obeying the law? But anyway, as we continue to finish up the article, I am not in a position to go alone into the ghetto and fight. I chose Charleston because it is the most historic city in my state, and at one time had the highest ratio of blacks to whites in the country. We have no skinheads, no real KKK, no one doing anything but talking on the internet. Well, someone has to have the bravery to take it to the real world, and I guess that has to be me, says Kamala Harris. Since we know what Roof ended up doing, that passage seems like an obvious threat of violence, but fight and talking into the taking into the real world are so ambiguous that it's hard to see how Roof's venting would qualify as a true threat. Unprotected by the First Amendment in combination with other evidence, such talk might suffice to show that someone poses a significant danger, the standard typically prescribed by red flag laws, but by itself racist pontification is constitutionally protected, and it is rather troubling that Harris does not even mention freedom of speech as a consideration. Although Harris says that the law she favors would be aimed at individuals who may imminently perpetuate a hate crime, it's not clear what that means, as with red flag laws generally the devil is in the details. Indeed, and even the red flag laws themselves are unconstitutional and therefore illegal. But that still requires the Supreme Court to make that ruling. Now I beg of you, Supreme Court, please shut these things down. We do not want to place ourselves at the mercy of a potentially corrupt state who will be allowed to just shoot and abuse people with impunity if these pass. Not to mention the criminals who pick up guns on the black market or buy parts and put one together themselves. There is no legislation that can protect us from mass shootings. Stop it. It doesn't work. It never has worked. It never will work. Think about Meiji-era Japan. Alright? Their government, the empire of the time, took their weapons away, their swords, knives, and their Tanegashima firearms, which is basically like a Japanese musket. And next thing you know, the police had all the power and immediately began abusing everyone in sight and employing methods of guilty until proven innocent and so forth. Quite frankly, based on this government's history, I don't see it going down any different. They're going to package it in nice wrapping with a neat little bow, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be the same horrible bullshit. The only way to stop shooters, to use the overused line, but it's the truth. A good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun, not legislation. Because if they really want to shoot something up badly enough, they'll find a way. So Kamala Harris, please stop trying to pass unconstitutional and therefore illegal legislation. Get ahead. Get smart. Grow a freaking brain and realize this shit doesn't work. Never has, never will. All it does is just put power into the hands of the government. Anyway. Peace.